synthesis. Okay?
Yes.
So I read each sentence and you tell me whether it's clear. It's a one-page para. So I am beginning. Okay. Next. All of you have got the text?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Ramprata.
Next, we have to realize this silent self as the Lord of all the action of universal nature. The same self-existent displayed in the creative force of its eternal consciousness. So, first of all, you have to get that cosmic consciousness. Okay, that's the first para, the first two paras. You have to realize, first of all, you become the witness. Okay, then you, there are other things also we have seen. You can become the, um, you can become the master also. Okay, you are aware of a consciousness which is absolutely free of all that. Sometimes use the word unwounded, avranam. We discussed all that last time. So now you realize that you have to realize the self as a Lord. He is not only a witness. Sunki, yesterday I sent you a detail about this one, a reply about all these different uh, stations of consciousness. First is the higher mind, witness. Second is the knower, jnata. Then after that, you become the uh, bharta. You become the supporter of your own body, mind, life. You're not a witness anymore. As you keep going higher and higher in consciousness, it keeps on changing. And finally, you see that there is a connection also between your body, mind, life and your soul. It's not that there is no connection at all, which is the first witness self. In the witness self, no connection at all with the physical world. You are outside. Then, then you become the jnata. Then you realize also that you are the anumanta. You are the permission giver to the body, mind, life to do whatever it is doing. It was a passive permission. Now you see that there are things in the body, mind, life which you don't like. You have the possibility of denying permission. So you stop giving permission to the, and then slowly those bad habits will slowly exhaust themselves. So that's the anumanta. Then you reach a consciousness where you start enjoying everything. You become the bhokta. You start enjoying those things which you did not enjoy earlier. Now you can start enjoying those also. In the beginning, there are pleasant and unpleasant things, and pleasant you enjoy, unpleasant you don't enjoy. But when you become the witness, nothing bothers you. The body mind life continues to have pleasant and unpleasant experiences, but the consciousness is free. But as you keep going higher and higher, as I said, you start realizing that there is a connection after all. It's not that there is no connection. That is only a first impression. So you start dictating terms to the body mind life. That's the beginning of the changing in the physical body mind life. Your nature is slowly changing. So as I told you last time, if you think of an image where you are on a scooter and 100 meters before your destination, you switch off the engine because you want to save petrol, for instance. But does the vehicle stop immediately? No. It goes on until the accumulated energy exhausts itself and it comes to a stop at the destination point. Exactly in the same way, you have been feeding your habits, you have been encouraging and you are allowing your habits to, and those habits can be good or bad. Okay, it can be smoking, it can be drinking, it can be getting angry, it can be telling lies, it can be anything. It can even be good things. Okay, but those are the habits. So when the permission giver says, no, I don't want these anymore in my body, mind, life, you stop the permission, you have switched off the engine. So slowly the habits die out. Okay, so that's what Sylvia is saying. And what is the final stage? You become the Lord. You become the master of your own body, mind, life. That's what Sylvia is saying now in this para. Okay, we start reading it. Next, we have to realize this silent self as a Lord of all action of universal nature. When you were a witness, you saw yourself as a soul and you saw the movement in the physical world as separate from you, mechanical energy, and you found it to be nature, but there's no connection between nature and soul. Now you start realizing that there is a connection, and that connection becomes more and more obvious to you, you become the permission giver, and finally you become the Lord. You can control your body, mind, life, but that full control comes only at the supramental level. That was the reason why Sri Aurobindo says, if you want to make a divine life on earth, a human being has to become divine, he has to reach necessarily the supramental level. But even in the spiritual planes of consciousness, the second level, spiritual planes of consciousness, the power to do things comes, but the power is not complete. That's the whole point. So, next we have to realize this silent self as the Lord of all the action of universal nature. Universal nature is there, and the individual nature is each one's body, mind, life is being dictated to by nature, but it need not be like that when you reach a spiritual consciousness. You can start changing that. You can start dictating terms to your own body, mind, life. You can even dictate terms to the universe. Sri Aurobindo is sitting in Pondicherry and determining things in the world. Okay, he is interfering in evolutionary matters. He had a hand in Turkey becoming a modern democratic republic. Then he had also a hand in the Sinn Féin movement in Ireland. He was helping them. Okay, he was curing people. People have illnesses and they are curing. In one letter, he says, I have never seen a single will of mine not getting fructified. Each one bore the result that I wanted, but it takes time, not immediately. The most famous case is the Dunkirk. You know? The Dunkirk, where 300,000 Allied soldiers were all stuck on the coast of France in Dunkirk, and they would have been absolutely decimated by the Germans, but nothing happened. In 2 days, they were able to cross the channel. It is one of the high points of the World War. Okay. And Sri Aurobindo he had interfered in that also. So this is power that you can get. You become Samrat and Swarat. Swarat, master of yourself, and Samrat, master of the universe also. So this is the lordship that Sri Aurobindo is talking about. Okay. So next we have to realize the silent self as the lord of all the action of universal nature. The same self-existent displayed in the creative force of his eternal consciousness. Note the word self-existent. So it comes it's not self-existence. Self-existence is the cosmic impersonal aspect of the divine. But the self-existent is a Lord, the Ishvara, the personal aspect of the divine. If you are stuck in the spiritual planes of consciousness, you don't necessarily see the personal aspect of the divine. That's the whole theory of the Buddhists and the Mayavadins and also the Jains. They all believe that there is no personal God. Okay? There's only states of consciousness. So that you go to the highest level, you see that. If you go through the Jnana Yoga path, if you go through the Bhakti Yoga path, of course the divine is there in a personal form. Okay, so all this action is only his power, not the word his. Okay, it's a personal aspect of the divine. He is like a king sitting there and controlling everything. Only his power and knowledge and self-delight going abroad in his infinite being to do the works of his eternal wisdom and will. Okay, that going abroad also is a reference to the Isha Upanishad. Okay, so then we realize the divine. Do you have we shall realize? I have we realize the divine.
Yes, we have we shall, and even in the previous sentence, there were 2-3 words which you did not read, which we have.
Okay, read it, please.
My book has.
Okay, read it.
Shall I read from the beginning, because there are a lot of changes. Next, we have to realize this silent self as the Lord of all the action of universal nature.
Yes.
We have to see that it is this same self-existent who is displayed in the creative force of his eternal consciousness.
Yes.
All this action is only his power and knowledge and self-delight delight going abroad in his infinite being to do the works of his eternal wisdom and will.
Yeah.
We shall realize the divine.
That's right. I have actually noted down, but I had noted down vertically, and that's why I missed it. Okay, so you are absolutely right. That's the latest version. So I continue. We shall realize the divine, the eternal self of all, first as the source of all action and inaction. So the action is in the physical world and the inaction is in the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness. Okay, when you are the witness, there is no action at all. There's an immutability, but he is the source of all these things. He is the source of all action and inaction. Action is at the ground level and inaction is at the first floor, the second level of the spiritual planes of consciousness. And finally, when you go to the third level, the supramental level, where he is the Lord, you see that he is immutable, but in action in the physical world. It's a combination of action and inaction. Okay, of all knowledge and all ignorance also, note that. Okay, because what is the ignorance? Ignorance is nothing but knowledge which has hidden itself, which has made itself into a smaller, it has contained itself and made itself smaller. That becomes the ignorance. Okay, so they're saying he is the source of ignorance also. Okay, so of all delight and suffering. When delight also in the life divine, he has very clearly said that all these things are there. He says ignorance is knowledge hiding itself and limiting itself for a particular purpose. Okay, since the question has come up, we'll discuss it very briefly. So ignorance at our level is nothing but knowledge which has made itself less. Then Ananda makes itself less and becomes pain, pleasure and suffering. Okay. Then Shakti, force, makes itself less, it diminishes itself and becomes incapacity and some sort of power also. Now, why should it make itself less? Okay. So that is one image which we will give you, then you will understand the need. Wherever there is manifestation, there is necessarily a limitation. One example is the huge amount of clay and you want to manifest all the pots and pans in it. You take a little bit of clay and make a mold and make a form. So there's a limitation of the infinite clay. Similarly, there's another image also which you can understand. Okay, suppose I want to, in the physical world, I want to knock, very simple work. I want to knock a nail into the wall. Okay, how much force does it need? Very little. But if I use no force at all, I will not succeed. And if I use too much force, I will break the wall. In other words, limitation of that infinite force is necessary in the physical world. That is the reason why knowledge also becomes less and Ananda becomes less and force also becomes less. Okay, that's why simply saying here, he is the source of knowledge and ignorance. He is the source also of all action and inaction. He is the source also of all power and powerlessness. Okay, so this you have to realize, and you can realize this only when you go to third level. Okay, we shall realize it next as itself, going abroad in its power and knowledge. For the power and knowledge are itself. He himself is power and knowledge, not only the source of their works, but the creator and the doer of their works, one in all existences. For the many souls of the universal manifestation are only faces of the one divine. The many minds, lives, bodies are only his masks and disguises. We perceive each being to be the universal Narayana. When he uses the word Narayana, it's the personal aspect of the divine. But that personal aspect of the divine is not limited, like in the religions, okay? He is universal. He can also be universal. Presenting to us many faces, we lose ourselves in that universality and perceive our own mind, life and body as only one presentation of the self. And you have got, I think, while, I have got and. All whom we formerly conceived of as others are now to our consciousness ourselves in other minds, other lives, other bodies. All force and idea and event and figure of things in the universe are only manifest degrees of the self, values of the divine in his eternal self-figuration. Okay. Again, the idea of the seed and the tree. The seed is the origin of all leaves, fruits, flowers, everything. So everything that you see in the physical world, all around you, everything is nothing but he taking different forms. Thus, viewing things and beings, we may see them first as if they were parts and parcels of his divided being. In the beginning, you will see them as divided. But the realization and knowledge are not complete unless we go beyond this idea of quality and space and division. And there is again an addition, which I read, by which there comes the experience of less or more, large or small, part and something. Okay, so I have written in my book, but it's illegible. So you have a little text, difference in text. And see the whole.
Part and whole.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Part and whole. Yeah. And unless we go beyond this idea of quality and space and division, and then that thing, and we see the whole infinite everywhere. Again, we must see the universe and each thing in the universe as in its existence and secret consciousness and power and delight, the invisible divine in its entirety. You see the many, but you see also the oneness. However much the figure it makes in our minds, I'm reading wrong. However much the figure it makes to our minds may appear only as a partial manifestation. When we possess thus the divine, at once, the silent and surpassing witness and the active Lord and all constituting being, without making any division between these aspects, we possess the whole cosmic divine, embrace all of the universal self and reality. We possess and are awake to the cosmic consciousness. So the real cosmic consciousness comes when you reach the Ishvara consciousness. You can get that in the higher mind level also, but there is a division. There is also a witness. There is a difference between Purusha and Prakriti. There is a difference between spirit and matter. The world and God seem to be separate. But in the supreme level of the supermind, everything falls into place and there is only one. The divine is there everywhere, enjoying himself and dividing himself into infinite number of things, events, beings, forces, everything. That's what it says. So in the other yogas, you are more than satisfied to be liberated and go to the second level. The higher mind, the element mind, the intuitive mind, and many have gone even to the overmind. Many have even got touches of the supermind, but they have not taken the trouble, or even if they have taken the trouble, they have not been able to reach it. But the Vedas have clearly indicated that the ultimate source of everything is the supermind. Truth consciousness, Rita Chit, Satyam Ritam Brihat. That's what is used in the Vedas. So there you are. So even in the spiritual planes of consciousness, there are so many levels. That's the whole thing. And depending at which level you are, you have your philosophy. That's why there is so much of so many differences of opinion. And Sri Aurobindo says all of them have a point. It's not that they are, but if they think that that's the ultimate, then there is a quarrel. That's the whole problem. And even among religions also, there are quarrels. Okay? How many sects are there in Christianity? Huge number. How many sects are there even in Islam? It's not only Shias and Sunnis. Huh? There are many other smaller sects. It's the same in Hinduism also. Vaishnavism, Shaivism, okay. The human mind is the one that analyzes and cuts. That's its nature. And that's why you have all these. But if you go to the highest level, the mountain peak, you will see that all of these are only various manifestations of the one divine. who is enjoying himself and making all these variations. And why should he limit himself only to one? He wants to experience everything in the many also. That's what he said. Okay, so we go to the next para. In fact, next time I'll bring my computer. I won't read it from the book, because then there'll be no difference of text between your text and my text. I'm reading from the book because I've got many notes in that book, but that doesn't matter. I will bring the computer next time, so there'll be no problem. Okay, we have about 12 minutes. So we can read one more, I think, para. No? We can read it. We'll try and understand it as we read it. So one of you read.
Shall I read?
Yeah. Any of you, one of you.
What will be the relation of our individual existence to this cosmic consciousness to which we have attained? For since we have still a mind and body and human life, our individual existence persists even though our separate individual consciousness has been transcended. It is quite possible to realize the cosmic consciousness without being that. We can see it, that is to say, with the soul, feel it, and dwell in it. We can even be united with it without becoming wholly one with it. In a word, we may preserve the individual consciousness of the Jivatman within the consciousness of the universal self. We may preserve a yet greater distinctness between the two and enjoy the relations between them. We may remain in a way entirely the individual self while participating in the bliss and infinity of the universal self. Or we may possess them both as a greater and lesser self once we feel pouring itself out in the universal play of the divine consciousness and force, and other in the action of the same universal being through our individual soul center or soul form for the purpose of an individual play of mind, life, and body. But the summit of this cosmic realization by knowledge is always the power to dissolve the personality in universal being, to merge the individual in the cosmic consciousness, to liberate even the soul form into the unity and universality of the spirit. This is laya, dissolution, or moksha, liberation, at which the yoga of knowledge aims. This may extend itself, as in the traditional yoga, to the dissolution of the mind, life, and body itself into the silent self or absolute existence. But the essence of the liberation is the merging of the individual in the infinite. When the yogin no longer feels himself to be a consciousness situated in the body or limited by the mind, but has lost the sense of division in the boundlessness of an infinite consciousness, that which he set out to do is accomplished. Afterwards, the retaining or non retaining of the human life is a circumstance of no essential importance. For it is always the formless one who acts through its many forms of the mind and life and body, and each soul is only one of the stations from which it chooses to watch and receive and actuate its own play.
It's about a page, and here in this para, he is discussing when you lose your identification with body, mind, life, what happens? You become the universal individual. So what is the relation between the universal individual and the physical universe? What is the relation? So there are many, many possibilities, and he is discussing all those possibilities. You can be conscious only of your universal individuality. The world will be seen as unreal. Or you can feel yourself to be in both together. Or sometimes you can feel yourself to be in the physical world but with the cosmic consciousness. So all these different possibilities are there, and he's discussing all those. We will go into detail next time and we will see exactly what he's saying. But these are the different things. Okay. So, and each one gives a different philosophy and a different view, and they're all right, because it's not in the Life Divine. The same question is dealt with as in time, okay? Because the physical world is time and space, and the universal consciousness above is outside time and space. So it's a very interesting discussion. Several possibilities are there. You can be, I'm just giving a hint as to how many different types of consciousnesses can be there. Okay? You can be only in the timeless consciousness. That's a witness self. Immutable, and you are there, and there is no mutability in you at all. All the mutability is there below. You are on the mountain top, absolutely calm and quiet, and the river is flowing, the people are going, the animals are moving in the valley. The valley is the physical world. This is one possibility. You may feel yourself to be on the mountain top, and yet part of you is in the physical world, in your body mind life. You have an ambassador in the body mind life. Yes, I'm saying something. Yeah, tell me. Okay, I thought someone was saying something. So this is one. Or you can be in the physical world, you can be in the valley, in your body mind life, and yet you are not part of your body mind life, you are not affected. You have the divine consciousness in you. Okay, that's exactly what Srivendra wants. You have to be in the body mind life, but without being subject to body mind life. You are master of your own body mind life. The car is not dictating terms to you. You are dictating terms to the car. The car is your body mind life, the vehicle. Okay, so all these different types of experiences are possible, and he will discuss them. So we will go through each one carefully and see to what philosophy it is relating. Okay, so today we will not be able to do it because it is better to do the whole thing in one stroke, because then all the different we can even classify all the different philosophies in the different types of. But in the Life Divine, he has dealt with it as time and space. But here he is discussing as consciousness, in which consciousness you are. Basically, it's the same thing, but in different terms, because this is synthesis of yoga, and there it is philosophy. So the same thing discussed in two different ways. Time and space is the physical world. If you want to use the word nature, fine. Your body, mind, life is in time and space. But your soul is up there in spirit, timeless and spaceless and immutable. So what are the combinations he is discussing? See the first sentence. What will be the relation of the individual existence to this cosmic consciousness to which we have attained? What's the relation between the two? It can be separate, it can be connected, it can be very well connected, it can be both together at the same time. That's all these questions we will discuss. So, although it's 8:30, there's 5 minutes still, I think we will stop here today. Because next time...
Can I ask you a question?
Please, go ahead.
You know, you told us the 3 levels. The first level was witness. The second level was knower. What was the third level?
Okay, that's exactly what also Sunki asked the other day, and I've sent a detailed reply. I don't think there is absolutely a geographical thing like that. It depends on the individual consciousness, and you can, I told you about 4 or 5. I'll give you all, and they can occur in any way possible. Okay, it's not that it's a serially, it's not a serial ascent. So first is the witness self. That's sure. The witness self is the what is the Sanskrit word? One who is watching. Okay.
Drishta.
Yeah.
Sakshi.
Sakshi is the word. Sakshi is the word. You are the witness. Okay. Then you become the Anumanta. That's the second one. Then there is the Bharta. You realize that you are the supporter of your own body, mind, life. Then you can become the Bhokta. You can become the Jnata. And finally you become the Ishvara. You become the Lord. So, Yasmin's question as to, is it a serial thing? I personally think it is not necessarily serial, because we always like to have very clear-cut answers. But nature is a very complex phenomena. There can be all sorts of combinations. Okay? You need not, for instance, remain only in the higher mind and go step by step to the other levels. You go to the element mind, then you go to the intuitive mind, and finally over mind. Not necessarily like that. Your first realization may be even up to the overmind level, touches of the overmind level, because they are all mixed together. So the 5 states are Sakshi, Anumanta. Sakshi is witness, Anumanta is the permission giver, then the Jnata. The Jnata is a knower, you come to know everything. Then you become the Bharta, Bhokta, and finally Ishwar. So I think there are 6 levels. But these levels, as I said, are only ways of saying. It can be, it depends on the individual, what he is experiencing. It need not be serial.
Rangada,
Yeah.
yeah, there is a shloka in the Gita for this, 13th chapter, 23rd. So
Uh-huh.
which covers all of these in one shloka.
Read it out if you can.
Yeah, Upadrashtanumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwarah parmatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purushah parah.
That's right. That's what I was referring to, actually, because it's there in the Gita very clearly, and that's why in the essays on the Gita, Swayambhuva discusses this also. So, not many other yogas discuss this, but it is definitely there in the Gita, and Swayambhuva also perfectly subscribes to its view that this is possible. Okay?
Can you please send that to me also? What you sent to Sunki?
Yasmin, I couldn't hear you clearly.
Can you please send me also what
Ah.
you sent to Sunki Lee?
Yes, I'll do that. I'll send you the whole, yeah, I sent it to Sunki because she had asked a question about Jnata. She said, I understand Anumanta, I understand other ones, but what is this Jnata? She asked. Okay. So, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just copy the email and send it to you.
Yes.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Au revoir and have a nice day, everybody.
Thank you, Rangada. I will read the email. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Au revoir. Au revoir tout le monde.
Okay, au revoir, everybody.
Have a
Au
nice
revoir.
day.
Have a nice day. Yes.